Let's continue on my subject today that I started my podcast the other day. And now it's fresh in my mind, and I know I'm gonna get these thoughts out of my head. The topic is how stupid we are as Americans. You know, I was diagnosed really early as having a behavior and mental problems. Like, technically, I'm retarded. I was born in Chicago and they caught it really early. I got thrown in special education very early. My kindergarten teacher hated me and I hated her back. My kindergarten teacher hated me, Miss Cooper, Stone Academy. She hated me, and the main reason she hated me is because I was so much more advanced than the other kids. And I'm not going to get too deep into that right now. Maybe we'll talk about Miss Cooper later. But when you have the mix of autism and ADHD, and I got a new subscriber the other day, I was talking to her about her child, and lately I've been having some really good cognitive days. And that's one reason I want to make this video now, because I'm special education. I'm ADHD, I'm autistic, and I'm a few other things that I've been diagnosed with, but I don't accept those diagnoses. But basically, I'm crazy as hell, according to you experts. But I'm not stupid as hell. So the reason I turned on this video right now is I was watching a YouTube short. And the YouTube short was labeled, "Old Cartoons Have No Logic." And they had a couple of little short clips from droopy cartoons. Now, I used to love cartoons when I was a little boy. I loved droopy cartoons. And, I was one of those kids, I asked so many questions. And I stopped asking adults questions really early, because one thing I've found is when you ask a person a question they don't know, they don't ever say, "I don't know." I'm guilty of this too. Kind of, sort of. Because I'll start answering the question. I'll be like, "I don't know," but I will start going down I don't know, but I think maybe blah, 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 blah. But a lot of people don't say, "I don't know." If you ask me a question I don't know, maybe you want to do like they say in the Bible, like iron sharpens iron, so is the wits of men in the book of, Ecclesiastics, one of my favorite Bible verses. Like iron sharpens iron, but basically it's that verse that says debate is good and challenging people is good and having deep conversations is good. Either way it go, the Bible's full of proverbs, a one little sentence saying that you can meditate on, and you could it's like a mental exercise. However, I got speech therapy very early and all that, but here's the funny thing, they never said I was stupid. They never said I was stupid. That was one thing. They always was like, "Diego's very, very smart, but what's wrong with him?" So even though they threw me in special education and all this other type of stuff, and I got teased as a kid, especially when I would go to certain schools and I would have to be in a special classroom or something, a little bitty classroom with all the special kids. Half of those classrooms, for instance, I think often of a behavior disorder class I went to at a certain school in Chicago. Half of my classmates, we were all geniuses. We were all geniuses. It's just the education system was not correct for us. We were too in touch with reality. We were too honest. We were too a lot of things. But the main thing that we was guilty of was disrupting class. I remember a great example of this. You hear people say things all the time that's just not true. They never taught us something in school that they definitely taught us in school. But I remember certain things. For example, when the teacher said there are 9 planets in the solar system. I first learned that probably first grade or second grade. I had my kindergarten teacher sucked ass. My first and second grade teacher was amazing. Miss Frank was amazing. But Miss Frank wouldn't get mad at me when, say, for instance, she's trying to teach us about the 9 planets. And me as like a 6 or 7-year-old boy, I ask a common sense question like, that doesn't make any sense. What do you mean there's 9 planets, and how do you know that for sure? And Miss Frank would answer the question, most teachers are pieces of shit, and they just gonna go with the curriculum, and they'll say there are 9 planets. there are 9 planets. I don't know how we know, but we know. Miss Frank would actually turn into a discussion. She would go, the correct answer is there are 9 planets. The points you're bringing up are very valid, and maybe there are more or less. See, my logic was, that ain't in the Bible. Say, for instance, I learned on Monday that there are 9 planets. So I go home and I'm like, Mom, did you know there are only 9 planets? Then I talk to my stepfather. And I'm like, hey, man, did you know there are only 9 planets? And then my stepfather would be like, man, don't believe everything the white man tell you. What you mean the white 9 planets? Oh, you think the white man is God because they say there's 9 planets? There's only 9 planets? Or you think the white man is God? They say that the largest land mammal is the elephant and the largest animal in the ocean is the blue whale, and you just believe that? That's the ultimate answer. White people are not God. Stop coming to this school, and my stepfather was not fucked up like that. I'm saying it in a way like he was fucked up, but he wasn't fucked up for telling me, stop being so naive. Stop being so easily led. Stop not questioning things. And then I go to church, and then I say, yeah, in science class, they tell us this on only 9 planets. And then the pastor's like, I go to these black churches in Chicago. We in the hood. And the black pastor will be like, you put that on the test for the answer, but just because they teach you in the school doesn't mean that it's the ultimate truth. Lo and behold, I was right. Because there was always a question like, stop, you know what I'm saying? There's 9 planets. We can name them. It's only 9, so we can name them. 10 if you throw in the sun and then you start throwing in the moons and all that other stuff. But 9 planets? Still to this day. So back when I was in school, Pluto was the 9th planet. A few years later, Neil deGrasse Tyson gets the credit for discovering that Pluto was just one of countless planetoids. And Pluto's not even a planet no more. And now we're looking for planet 9, which have been, but anyway, let's talk about this DroopyCon, this short I said song. So, and I've seen this a lot in the comments. And I don't know if it's just American in these comment sections saying stupid stuff, but the point they was making about this Droopy cartoon was that the logic was off. So in one video, Droopy's bully, I can't remember the name, Brutus or Bluto, whatever, the dog that was always bullying Droopy, there's a big weight there. It says 1,000 pounds. The guy takes a sticker, he licks it, he puts it on there, licks it, puts it on there. Droopy comes out, he lifts, because it says 1 pound now. Droopy comes out, lifts it real quick, puts it back down. Droopy's bully, who's way bigger than him, comes out and he picks it up too. Then the little black parts that's covering up the zeros falls off, and now it doesn't say 1 pound anymore. It says 1,000 pounds, and boom, the guy falls through the floor. Then there's another scene where guns are involved. However, though, the title of the video was basically that these are just stupid cartoons and the logic is off. But it's satirical. It's a message. It's an obvious message hidden there. You know what I'm saying? And maybe I shouldn't be calling these people stupid. Maybe they just didn't have the right adults in their life that would see them watching the cartoons and they wouldn't stop and say, hey, kid, I see you laughing at that. Do you get the actual joke? You laughing? Why are you laughing? Are you just laughing because they made a funny noise? Are you just laughing because of the images? Do you get the moral of the story? When I was growing up in Chicago, there were so many, like Michelle Obama often says that it takes a community or it takes a village, an old African proverb. It takes a village to raise a child. So much wisdom in that. You know what I'm saying? You could take that sentence and you could just write a book off of that if you got any kind of common sense. Hell, if you're a dummy, like I was about to call somebody's name out in particular, somebody who's very popular for being known as smart. It's so many people like this that I could think of. They cater to the, Charlie Kirk is a great example. Charlie Kirk, anyway, let's not get into Charlie Kirk, but that's a good example. Charlie Kirk went to colleges debating people, and South Park recently South Park is high satire. And South Park They stack the jokes. They get it from The Simpsons. The Simpsons stack jokes. I'm just waiting for what you call it so long. I'm just finna take this, not even knowing this is good money, but I just can't sit here. But it's good because I'm gonna wrap this up. And what the hell? I shouldn't have took this ride. Hey Siri, start the stopwatch. I'm gonna drive the speed limit to get there. I hope they cancel. Because I gotta go 9 miles. This is one reason I hate doing, and this is my fault. I hate being out here in the country. When you do Uber, one of the really bad things about doing Uber, if you take those long runs that get you out in the sticks, like right now, I'm not in Austin. I'm about to pick somebody up. I'm in one small town, and I'm about to go a couple towns over. I bet you I'm picking somebody up in fucking Martindale. Fucking. You know, if you live in Martindale, let me see where I'm picking this person up first. I've picked this person up before. This is a repeat customer. And let's see. It's not Martindale, but it's Dale, Texas. So 16 minutes to pick this person up. 8.1 miles. And I don't know where I'm taking them, but I'm assuming I'm going to take this person to Austin. And once I get to Austin, I can get busy and stay busy. I got to make sure that my stopwatch is going because I got to do the calculations and the math. Yeah, I ain't from this town, nigga. I ain't from this little hick town. I'm from Chicago, nigga. I drive like I'm from the city. But one thing I hate about coming out to these small towns is a lot of these small towns, the whole reason this town people live out there is to get away from black people. A lot of people just don't like black people. Black people are not no more violent than white people. And suggesting as much is... So I come here to take this shortcut, and now I'm behind somebody driving 20 miles an hour. Why? 11:58 in the afternoon, basically lunchtime, so this is supposed to be the busiest time of the day. And I'm in this town that's not that small, as you could see from my window. This town is like everything else around Austin. This is the last town that's really blowing up. So I end up bringing people out here all the time. My last two passengers out here are not from Texas. And I took them to communities, brand new communities. I've been driving in this area since 2002, for over 20 years. And it's all this town, I know this town very well. This is one of the first small towns that I was messing around in out here. I went to Job Corps out this way. But anyway, yeah, my last school, I dropped out of high school, and then to get a felony dropped, I agreed to go to Job Corps. It wasn't a situation where I was like convicted of it, or they had me for a case. They was charging me, well, they weren't charging me for, but burglary, man. I was a 16-year-old burglar. And when I first got to Texas, man, I'm still talking about how stupid people are, and I do want to finish the moral of that story. Looking at those comments, I couldn't believe that there are adults. I'm believing now. I realize it now. One thing I realize now, and one reason I got a problem with Obama, there's the day, I remember when Obama was running for president, and I was reading about him for years before he became a candidate. And I was even telling people, I'm from Chicago. So I was calling people, I was reading all about, I was living in Texas. I was locked up in Texas, to be honest with you. But by me being from Chicago, I'm reading all these articles about Obama, and all these articles are just like, this dude is amazing. So I would call my relatives in Chicago, and I'd be like, who the hell is this dude, Barack Obama from Chicago I keep reading about? They'd be like, I heard that name, but I don't know who he is. So here I am getting disappointed at some of my relatives who I thought were the smartest people in the world. And I'm like, this dude, Barack Obama, people are talking about this dude, Barack Obama, all over the world. This dude, they're talking about nominating him from a Nobel Prize. But all of my friends and family in Chicago, especially the ones that be trying to talk politics, how the hell you don't know Barack Obama? Now, my grandma Dolores, she's another one. She's always been considered crazy her whole life too, but my grandma was always so damn smart. My grandmother, we tell the story about how the first time she got pregnant, the doctor, she got sent to, I need to talk about this more, but I hate that people don't know the history of this. Hysteria. Why did the vibrator get created? That's one of the problems too. And guys like me who are nerds and we nerd out, and we could nerd out on a subject, and then we want to talk to somebody about the subject, and we get mad that somebody ain't nerd out on this. Well, people don't be nerding out. That's just the reality of America and the world. But, I know in this comment section, I had put this one comment that, it's one thing to not get the satire of South Park, but not to get the satire in a Warner Brothers cartoon that was animated in like the 60s or the 70s. That's just pathetic, man. That's just pathetic. I mean, it's already pathetic when you're an adult and you don't get the satire of South Park, which most people don't. And that's become so obvious lately because Trump and MAGA have lost their minds because Trey and Matt, they've been teasing Donald Trump for like 10 years straight. But they was not doing it in a very open way. They was just doing it satirically. And the way a show like South Park works is, again, back to the Simpsons model. This is high satire. When the Simpsons, and they broke this down like 30 years ago, maybe longer. But the Simpsons is the longest running television program, I believe, in American history. But it doesn't matter if it's the longest running, whatever. But The Simpsons is such a groundbreaking show. And the satire of The Simpsons. I love South Park, and I probably prefer South Park to The Simpsons. It's hard to say. No, it's hard to say. I can't put one above the other because The Simpsons, first of all, The Simpsons is high satire. I mean, yeah, The Simpsons, that's high satire. And The Simpsons is almost too high satire because a lot of people just don't like The Simpsons because they just don't get any of it. And a lot of people just don't get the moral of the story. And that's one thing that's really tripping me out about the stupidity of America. And the way that I'm surfing the algorithm these days, it's so glaring because I read the comments. I love reading the comments. One of the things I used to love about AM talk radio was listening to, there was the two most popular AM shows, according to my understanding. But back when I first got my CDL, that was in 2002, there was, three. Let's talk about three major popular radio shows. And now that I'm driving truck all the time, nobody wants to listen to AM radio because you hear that staticky buzz in it. And listening to music on AM radio was insufferable. But I listened to, I started listening to Rush Limbaugh. Without a doubt, Rush Limbaugh was the king of political media for decades. Definitely on the radio. He was the king of the radio for years, but he talked politics all day, every day. And one thing I loved about listening to Rush, one, I'm pretty conservative. I don't agree with him. Rush has been part of every major political movement in his lifetime. Not everyone, but you start with the late 90s, even in the 80s, Rush was man. The Rush Limbaugh show, I remember watching that as a little boy, the show that everybody talks about where they had a racial riot on the Rush Limbaugh show. I was watching that live as a little boy. And I remember the adults in my life used to ask me what you watching? I'd be like, I'm watching Rush Limbaugh. You ever heard of Rush Limbaugh? Let's talk about Rush Limbaugh. And the adults would look at me like, the fuck is wrong with you? And I wouldn't say nothing because, the adults around me, they smacked the shit out of a kid for saying something smart, like pointing out how fucking stupid you are. Like, you're making fun of me because I'm an 8-year-old, 9-year-old boy watching Rush Limbaugh. Well, I'm going to make fun of you because you're a 30 or 40-year-old and you don't fucking watch Rush Limbaugh. You got the nerve to talk politics all day. You're supposed to be educating me, but every time I bring up these subjects that adults should be, you know what I'm saying? As a fucking child, I should be able to go to the adults in my life and be like, hey man, there was a crazy show. I just saw a fucking race riot on Rush Limbaugh. Let's talk about it. But the vast majority of adults, the number one question, the number one reaction is, who's Rush Limbaugh? The number two reaction is, you shouldn't be watching Rush Limbaugh. Why are you watching Rush Limbaugh? And then the number three reaction, if you ever, you know what I'm saying? Like, the reactions was just so ridiculous. You're a kid. You shouldn't be worried about that. I'm a kid. I shouldn't be. What the fuck? I'm a kid in Chicago, in the city. We're poor. Like, what the fuck? I'm finna pick up this passage. That's another reason that I'm kind of like stepping up the animation. Damn, this is a long ride. I still got 3.4 miles in 5 minutes. But I am definitely in. You can see out my window, I'm fucking cows and shit over here. Well, it's cows in Austin too. If you know which parts of Austin to go. Austin's a bigger city than what a lot of people think. A lot of people think Austin is just fucking 6th Street in the inner city. The lower south side, the lower east side, the lower west side, the lower north side. But either way I go, or their particular neighborhood, but that's the problem of being a city-fied hood rat. Now, I was a city-fied hood rat most of my life. I probably still am a city-fied hood rat. And by a city-fied hood rat, you know, you can say the same thing about these maggots. These stupid motherfuckers that are from one area and they think that their area is every fucking thing. And I'm not just talking about the stupid ass hillbillies that go to a city for the first time and they like, what the hell? It's the same with you city motherfuckers that go out to, and me too, you know what I'm saying? When I first came to Texas, my mind was blown to move to Texas at 15. And I had already did some research and read and all that type of shit. I spent a lot of time in the library. Again, motherfuckers try to tease me about being in the library. I tease you right back, you stupid, illiterate son of a bitch. Our ancestors died so that we could read. It used to be illegal for us to read the fucking Bible. Do you know who fucking Nat Turner is? And you trying to make fun of me and shame me because I read a lot and shit? You're trying to shame me into releasing my power for what reason? I'll punch you in the fucking mouth. I fought a lot growing up in Chicago because it's disrespect. You know what I'm saying? It's disrespect, and it's not just disrespect, but you're trying to brainwash me with your stupid shenanigans. Why are you laughing at me because I'm trying to read? Why are you laughing at me because I'm not dressed in expensive clothes? We're in the fucking ghetto. Man, I'll beat the fuck out you, man. And I went to so many different schools. It just happened like that. This is my first day of school and some motherfuckers talking to me about my shoes. Motherfucker, you think I'm finna let you make fun of me because my poverty is more extreme than yours? I will fucking beat the shit out you, man. And if and when I lose my temper, first of all, I'm retarded. Real talk, I'm special education. Why this kid who comes from extreme poverty, extreme homelessness, you know, by the time I left Chicago, I had probably went to like 10 different fucking schools. My mother grew up in a foster home. My grandmother got impregnated by a doctor as a 15-year-old. She got sent to a mental institution because she was showing signs of hysteria. Some racist ass shit. Because the way they treated white women for hysteria, they invented the vibrator. They used to masturbate. This was what doctors did. If a woman was suffering from hysteria, well, black women too. But the first line of defense was to give this woman a manual orgasm. And doctors invented the vibrator because their hands would cramp up and they were starting to get a carpal tunnel and shit like that. What I just said, I know it sounds crazy as fuck. But not only is that American history, that's American modern history. That's very recent. Your grandmother, if you're my age, your grandmother, they probably didn't call shit depression. They called it hysteria. And when a woman was suffering from hysteria, a van would drive up. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. That's too deep. I'm driving, and I'm going to have to start thinking like psychology and shit like that. Start thinking, I'm going to have to turn on my Black Freud brain, and I got to focus on driving. So, anyway, Americans are stupid. I know that's when I first decided that I'm never going to vote for Obama. When, like I say, before Obama, like 2000, I was locked up in jail. So I was reading about Obama in 2005. You know, in jail. I'm a stupid, according to Trump and MAGA, I'm a stupid piece of shit. And the red pill. I'm a stupid piece of worthless shit because I never met my biological father, which is not true. I met him, but it doesn't count. I haven't seen my father face to face since I was probably 2 or 3 years old. Talked to him on the phone once as an adult. Anyway, but I come from poverty. My mother was raised in a foster home. My parents didn't have a loving marriage, and I'm from Chicago. And us people from Chicago, we're not real Americans. Especially if you like me and you like from the poor part of Chicago, we're not Americans. And again, look at and that's the funny thing too, these motherfuckers talk about that alpha male shit. That was one reason I didn't get in trouble for fighting a lot. Because here I am, new to the school, and some kid that I don't know is trying to, he supposedly just joking and shit. Motherfucker, we don't know each other. You're not making fun of me. You're fucking trying to dominate me. You're trying to put me down socially. You're trying to step on me and lift yourself up in front of everybody. And I just got here, and if I'm just transferring schools, somebody might have just died. We probably just got homeless or something like this. And I'm finna let some kid who has some cushy life probably live in the same place. It's, and that's the thing too, like about being from the hood. Like motherfuckers be putting Tupac down, talking about he ain't ghetto. Because that motherfucker was always moving from place to place to place to place. That type of poverty. It's one thing to be a hood dude, but to be a hood dude that's always new to the hood, and you outgoing, you friendly, you personable. I'm as friendly as motherfuckers will let me be. So the girls like me. And there's some too, these red pill dudes, they be like, girls only like the bad boys. Again, that's simple surface shit. That's simple surface shit. Like me, I'm talking about myself. Here this kid is, he come making fun of me. Your shoes. What are those? What are those was not a thing back when I was going to school. But basically our version of what are those? Like XJ900s. XJ900s was the fake Jordans back then. And if you had the XJ900s, you know what I'm saying? That was something. Now, I didn't have XJ900s because XJ900s was actually fancy for me. My mama didn't, my mama didn't believe. My mama was red pill. She thought that men should work and men shouldn't accept money from women. And my mama raised me like that. What the fuck? Okay, I see these people now. Why the fuck are y'all waving at me after I drive by you? You know your motherfucking destination was over. See, this is the shit I be talking about. Let me turn on this camera. Because I'm going to wrap this up. These motherfuckers live out here. They know that they shit is not nowhere near here. Anyway, peace out. Like, share, subscribe for more. I'm going to be talking about this real shit. And this Americans are stupid thing. Like I was going to say, the thing I was trying to say is, I remember when I got disillusioned with Obama, I was trying to give him a chance. I'm not liberal, I'm not Democrat, and I had never voted for a Democrat, but I knew I'd be getting my voting rights back once I got out of prison. But he said one day, the American people are smart. It's bullshit.